been my night. To like pick this up and put it on my blogs.
Yeah, totally. All right, hi everybody, and welcome back to the Tribeswell podcast. This is our 5th episode, and I'm here with Lauren Little. And what is your title?
Official title is Media School Career Advisor.
Here at the IU Media School, which is it the newest college here at the?
Yeah, newest school here on campus. The School of Art and Design is the only one that trumps it. That just got founded a year after they did.
Oh wow.
But this is the newest building, and we're here in Franklin Hall, in our giant commons area with our huge television in the background. So please enjoy that while you're watching our podcast.
Cool. So IU has a journalism school, and a telecom school, and informatics school. Why do they need this media school? It seems to kind of almost contradictorily combine these different disciplines into one school.
Absolutely. Well, there's a big push right nowadays for students to be multimedia focused in almost every media discipline they go into. So the idea was to bring journalism together, telecommunications department, and then the communication and cultures department together, so that way everyone can benefit from all of the classes and not have to jump around different schools. Mm-hmm. So now we are all formally known as those telecom legacy programs are coming now into the media school.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's so funny. Different jobs that I've worked, particularly at Tribeswell, and my current job. It seems like if you have just all these skills, then it's like employers don't know how useful you're going to be until you're 3 weeks into the job, and it's like, we need to produce this video, and it's like, oh, I can run Final Cut Pro, or I can I'll write a blog post for the company website. It's like there's just so much to professional jobs now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really can't get away from media in no matter what industry you go into, which I think is probably the coolest part about being in an industry that touches every other industry.
Oh, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, we're talking about a culture in which we are literally attached to media. Every time you sit down, ride the bus, hopefully not when you're driving your car, but when I'm in my car, I'm like a total, the reason why I started this podcast is because I've been listening to tons of podcasts. I almost got to the point where I couldn't listen to music in my car because, which obviously music is a form of media too, but I'm just like, it's like podcast. I have to have something pumping into my brain, which maybe it's not even that healthy.
But it is interesting, and that's one of the big things that I push on students nowadays is why it's so relevant, is that about 17 hours of the day they are looking at some kind of media, whether it's on their phone, they're watching television, they're interacting in some way with it, and it's important because that's the industry that they're about to jump into.
Yeah, totally. So what about your background? How did you fall into this role here at the media school?
It's a really good question. I actually have no background in media besides a communications class I took in undergrad. I started off originally at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio as a middle childhood education major, and actually am certified to be a middle school teacher.
All right.
So that is where my background kind of falls, and I actually am specialized in English and social studies. Kind of found out early that really wasn't for me. Finished out the degree and started in student affairs. So I really loved working with students, and I just liked the college vibe a lot better than I did middle school. We all know how awkward that was. Yeah. And then this is kind of how I found my way here. I had actually worked in the IU system previous to coming to Bloomington as an academic advisor for the Humanities and Social Sciences School at the IU East campus.
Awesome. So, and you were brought here, recruited right by Rich Forey, who's my business partner with Tribeswell, who's also has been on the podcast, episode 1.
Yeah, so, exactly. That was one thing that was amazing. I was starting to do research, and I thought that can't be the same Rich Forey that recruited me, and lo and behold, it was when I emailed him. So it's a small world, and networking really does go a long way. You never know where these people are going to pop up next. So
networking is crazy. It's crazy. Lauren and I were just talking before we turned the camera on about just some crazy networking where you meet somebody and you just don't know who's going to be what kind of relationships are going to be fortuitous once you even years down the road. There's people who will call me and say, hey, I don't even know why I'm calling you, but it feels like it feels like you may know something about this. It's not really a website, it's not really an app, but it's this thing I want to do. And
it's pretty incredible, honestly. And that's actually how I got this job here at IU, was because I knew somebody from a professional association I was a part of, and there's 3 of them in the office that had known me at that time. So networking is huge. It's very powerful.
It's totally crazy. So what do you think? I mean, obviously, you're more in the student affairs side, but as far as just big picture, what are some trends that you see as with media and how things are changing, or what things do you think are going to stay the same?
Yeah, and honestly, staying the same, I probably couldn't answer that question, but changing it's amazing. I was able to attend the Chicago Advertising Federation's Career Day last year up in downtown Chicago, and it was amazing to hear some of these speakers talk about the transition that advertising has gone through. In fact, I use this example a lot in classes, that they were starting to see downward trends in people actually watching advertising or advertisements on television, because people were speeding past all of those on our DVRs. And people were also not watching advertisements that would have been on like their computer screens. So like if you have ad blocker, for instance. And so they had to come up with all these really new and unique ways to actually infiltrate advertising into our lives. And I always ask, who's into Snapchat? I'm sure you all are into it. That is actually one of the ways that people are infiltrating now in advertising. So if you ever get one of those little geo filters and you have seen something that's like by, I think Biore has one now, where you can actually see what it looks like to splash water on your face. That is actually advertising being infiltrated, and someone had to come up with that idea. So the fact that it is changing that rapidly is incredible, that now they're in the app game, when about 2 years ago that was non-existent.
Yeah. The crazy thing that I've noticed is when I first got into content marketing, which was 2007, 2008, it was like the absolute cutting edge. It was like, oh, you can start a blog and you can shoot videos and put them on YouTube, and you'll catch this. And it was called Tribes, or it was called which is where the name Tribeswell came from. But it was really about kind of like finding your niche. Yeah. But now that there's no commercials anywhere, you can't. Everything is content. If there's some thing you're interested in, you find it and you become engaged because you really love their online store, or there's some brand that they're putting out videos that are just awesome, and it's the norm now. It's absolutely not an edge case at all. Every brand has to do it. And you'll notice from like major automakers to major food producers, they're just everybody's producing tons and tons of content, because it literally is the only way to get people's attention. Is to have something that's interesting to watch or interesting to engage with.
It is really funny, and that's part of too how social media is driving a lot of those posts to people, is that they're finding if they can find content that is interesting to their viewers, then they will then share that with their constituents that are part of their friend circle. So it really comes full circle in a lot of ways, from company side then over to what's actually happening with consumers.
Totally. What if any kind of connection does the media school have with as far as a business or marketing focus? Is there a connection at all with connecting media production and strategy along with a marketing strategy?
Absolutely. Well, the students can choose from a lot of different concentrations within the school. So right now there's probably about 7 different concentrations just within media. And then, of course, we have our journalism and our new game design program too as well. So the part of what this whole idea was when they first designed these programs were that they would come up with this big picture idea, and then they'd have to pick these specializations in order to complement what they're going to be doing that could be outside of the classroom in some way. So they can do marketing specializations in advertising, and they can come up with ways that one of my students has a concentration in English because one of her big focuses is technical writing. So there's ways that they can combine that to make sure that they are very marketable. But at the same time, as much as we're doing a lot in the classroom, it is also all about the out-of-classroom experiences that they are gaining, which are like internships, volunteer opportunities. Our student organizations here produce a lot of different content that students can get their hands on even before they've done anything in the classroom. So it's kind of all about educating the whole person and not just doing what's in the classroom. We really want them to engage outside of it, to be active members of the community in that aspect.
Right. So what percentage would you say, if you're doing it right, and if you're really engaged as a student, what percentage of your work is going to be in class and what percentage is going to be out of class, an internship or some club or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say probably a good chunk of what you're doing, of course you're here at IU as a student, so a big chunk of your time is going to be spent here in the classroom. So that's probably about half of your time what you should be spending doing. I'd say probably about between 20 and 30% should really be focused on out of class activities, and that could be anything from student clubs and organizations again. And then internships can kind of be its own separate area as well. So that way we're all thinking kind of holistically about where we want to go, and it really benefits the student in that way.
Yeah, totally. So I always find that people that I've worked with and people that I've hired in the past, one thing I've always really looked for in hiring is extracurriculars.
Yeah.
So some of the best people, and not extracurriculars like I played football in high school, or I'm part of whatever club, like real extracurricular, like two of the best employees I ever had. They were really into this campus movie fest. Have you ever heard of that?
Absolutely.
So they did campus movie fest every year, and every spring it was just, they were obsessed with. They would make their movie and they would just spend all their time on it, and I always found that these people, I played music and and am involved in a bunch of extra projects. I always found that people who really can immerse themselves deeply in extracurriculars tend to be the same people that, if given the right environment with a work situation, will immerse themselves deeply in a work situation as well and get really, really into it.
They do tend to be more successful too, and sometimes the job search even comes a lot easier for them in some cases too. It doesn't mean that a student that hasn't maybe done an internship due to other circumstances, such as having to work during school, is not going to be as beneficial to them, simply because most of the classes here at the media school have some kind of hands-on component where they might be working with a fake client, or they might be making these projects and presentations that they would be doing for someone. And that's really the cool part about the media school, is the faculty understand what's happening after they leave. It's not just that they're educating them here in the school, but they're also saying, well, here's what it's going to be like as soon as you graduate. And that's one thing that we really can't replace, is how wonderful and supportive the faculty are of their careers after this.
That's awesome. So what is so on the subject of faculty, what kind of background do most of the faculty come from here at the media school?
They all really have diverse backgrounds, but a good majority of them will have come from professional backgrounds, especially a lot of our adjuncts who will teach maybe 1 or 2 classes for us, and then the rest of the time they could be up in Indianapolis working, or maybe here in Bloomington, so that way they commute and do those classes maybe in the evening for us.
I totally want to do that, by the way.
Yes.
If you could hook me up.
We're going to have to pass this on to the dean.
This is like my my resume here.
Your video resume, yes, which is a thing nowadays, guys.
Yeah.
Video resumes. But then there's others that are going to be tenure track faculty who do a lot of focus on research, but still we even
What kind of research?
Oh gosh, it can vary. We have the Institute of Communication Research here, probably right in the basement here of the building, and they do anything from hooking everybody up to all these monitors to see how they react to media. And so there's someone that actually runs that institute. Rob Potter does that, so that's a really cool thing. But then they can do other research too. We've got a couple of faculty members that see how the effects of media work with children and women. So their topics really do vary. And then of course we do have what we call professors of practice, who actually come in and have 20 plus years of experience in an industry, and Mike Sellers is a great example, who came from the game design industry and is now a professor of practice with our students in the game design, which he's a wonderful addition to our group here. Been around probably about 2 years with us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So the game design, so that's particularly interesting. My next door neighbor just graduated from game design.
Yes.
And he was telling me about it, and it seems like it's really interesting, because I was telling him what I do, or what some of the stuff that I do. He She says, "Oh, I don't do that. I do game." And I'm like, "Well, it's still media." And it's like,
Yeah.
it's still,
It is interesting. It is their own niche, though.
Yeah.
But game design, at least the program here, has been designed at least the last half of their, essentially their junior and then all of their senior year. They're in a capstone class where they are actually working as a team to develop their own project.
So what is that? What are the qualifications to get into that? Is that one of those where it's very difficult to get into, I would assume?
It can be. Part of it, of course, is networking. The other thing, too, is to have a bunch of game published. So it's really easy to actually publish nowadays.
Right.
You can really go on into any platform and be able to publish a very basic game. And then, of course, you can go up to more complicated depending upon...
So in order to learn how to design games, you have to already know how to design games?
A little bit in some cases, but a lot of these students are coming with some previous knowledge already because they're watching the media that is being produced, like YouTube videos on how to produce things. They're doing things in their high schools, which are incredible in some cases on what kind of programs are already starting at that kind of level. But a lot of it kind of stems from students who are very interested in computers to begin with, that really get to understand the background behind games.
Yeah.
But not so much even that it's just games that you can see visually too. It's also like, how do you produce a card game that is actually going to run smoothly, that you don't run into any issues. So it can start very basic as a card game or a board game, and that's how you build something that you see nowadays with like Call of Duty. And that's kind of where it starts at with those very big games.
Which is kind of the conceptual storyboard layer, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And that can get very, very complicated very quickly.
I can imagine.
But a lot of times, too, there's going to be a whole team that works on that, because you're going to have somebody who's an artist, someone who's programming, somebody that's going to work out all the kinks and all the bugs, the head program designer. So there's multiple roles in a lot of those bigger games that it's not just one person.
What about virtual reality? Do you guys have any virtual reality programs going on?
Not right now, not that I know of at least,
Okay.
And I'm sure that could definitely change.
I'm sure it will.
I know there's some work right now over in the sports media and the Mark Cuban Center where they're working with virtual reality, but I'm not as familiar with some of those programs. Some of those too are really neat with the sports media, especially now that our basketball stadium and now the new football stadium have essentially cameras lined up all around the edge of it, so that way you can stop something in about 2 seconds and see all around this person to be able to see, did they drop the ball, did somebody touch one of the lines they weren't supposed to do, all of this stuff that refs had a hard time seeing beforehand. And we're very lucky to have 2 stadiums here at IU that have those, where many professional and other college stadiums do not.
I'm sure that it will not stop the fans from screaming at all if they
Oh no, it won't. No, it won't. But it'll make it a little bit more, the quality will go up, the fairness will go up on it a little bit. So now that we're able to see those, it's called 3D TV, and one of our faculty members, Dr. Galen Clavio, is the head of all of our sports media and helps a lot of our students get into some of these positions.
Cool.
So I work with him quite a bit when we're looking for students to broadcast, like on Big Ten Student U or IUS TV, which is here on campus doing sports broadcasting.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I missed out. I'm a little bit too old for all this cool stuff that I would have had so much fun, I think, in college. Not that it wasn't going on, I just wasn't tuned into it. It wasn't, media wasn't everywhere. I could have started a blog. I could have, but I mean, even just stuff like the cost of a really good digital camera, like a DSLR.
Yeah.
I mean, to think that was just a little over 10 years ago. And
it's
now
amazing
it's just
how prices have changed with a lot of that technology too. Our students have access to a club on campus called Indiana All Media, where they can actually check out a lot of these, really expensive cameras, or they can get training on software programs. So they really have access to a lot of things outside the classroom that they're able to get their hands on and not have to buy, because in some cases the really cool technology can be expensive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't I know it?
I know. I think we all get trapped into that sometimes, where I want the latest and greatest cell phone. I'm like, if only my plan is 2 years away from my upgrade.
So what about this building? So this previously the registrar was in this building. Is that right?
Yeah, this was actually a building that served essentially all of the students if you want to register. So the registrar was in this building.
Bursar was in this building.
Yeah, student services, especially coming on like the payment side of things, Bursar was in here. Previous to that, though, this building was actually a library. So that's why the back of the building, if you ever find yourself in it, is kind of funky because the ceilings are much shorter than that, and they're called stacks, just like you would be in a library, because you go in and out of these stacks down half staircase sets in order to get to other offices. So it is a really gorgeous building. It's taken like 2 years to get renovated, and we're really lucky to be in here right now to experience all of everything that they've put into this hard work.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's really, really awesome, and it definitely has paid off. And I don't know. For some reason, they don't. I shouldn't even say this, but for some reason, I don't get a lot of calls for alumni donations. Maybe I'm like not on the radar or something. But
we can definitely. Don't
tell anybody. But I'm glad that my peers who do donate, I'm sure that they've been done proud with this awesome building. It's really, really awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the college is really lucky to have all those phenomenal alumni that
Yeah.
just want to keep coming back.
Don't call me. I wonder why they're not like. Why are the alumni stalker people? Why are they still tied to phones? Like, are they?
That's a really good
question. Like, why aren't they like?
Telefund is, one of the biggest. Actually, they're one of the biggest employers on campus for a lot of our students. So it kind of, I would love to know the answer to that.
We could do like some retargeting ads, on
maybe
Snapchat, Instagram.
We need to start getting a hold of them, right?
And start creating some media about all the cool things that your money goes to. If getting people like re-engaged.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think this is a thing. I'll definitely.
You need to contact the alumni association. I feel something brewing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come in and
exactly.
on a part-time basis and consult with that.
There you go. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Totally. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is Lauren Little, and we're here at the IU Media School, and thank you for watching.
Thanks. Bye.
Good job.
That was a lot of fun.
Used to spend my nights in a bar room. Liquor was